I can get it, that's what I do.
Okay, so I've got some cards here, but I'm not using them. A lot of what I wanted, hold on, this is like,
Just move it to where it feels like it's with you.
A lot of what I wanted to say, Mayor Helps has said. A lot of what I wanted to say, you've said as well. So I'm going to do what I've been taught to do as a speaker, which is to just speak from the heart. I am an Indigenous woman of this territory. I am from Sayout. I am Holtmish, from what is known as Vancouver area and Squamish, BC. Today I got to observe a lot of what is feminine power, of what is woman power, and I don't think a lot of the women who I've witnessed this in actually realize it, because we're not taught to acknowledge it, and to acknowledge it is seen as being being arrogant. I witnessed women handing water and coffee and everything to each other without being asked. I heard women saying, "How can we get more people in here? It's really not fair that they're outside. You know, let's get them in here." We instinctually put other people first, and that is what is the power of being a woman. And a lot of times people will say that that is sort of like anti-feminist, because then a woman is supposed to be serving somebody else. But there's a sort of, I guess, like a yin and yang for that. We are here to do something for people, and we can still be powerful and do that. So I did, when I thought about this, I didn't know what I wanted to speak about. There's so many different issues going on with women today in feminism. But I just don't feel like, I feel like we all know, it is out there in social media, it is on our TVs, and for me to just add to it, it didn't feel like that was authentically me, although I'm incredibly impassioned by all the feminist stuff that's in the media today. So I just reflected back on, what do I know? What do I know about being a woman? And who taught me how to be a woman? And what did they teach me that I want to bring forward? And it is being a leader. And so that's why it's so fitting that the other speakers spoke about being woman leaders. And I learned in Bridges that it was really hard to try and admit what your strengths are. It's so hard. And it's so hard to admit that you've actually accomplished something. I am 29. A lot of people see me and don't see that. Like, I'm going to be 30 in June, so I can say for decades I've felt like I haven't accomplished anything. A couple of them, but, I literally have felt for decades that I have not accomplished anything. And it's only basically this past year that I have given myself permission to say it. I've accomplished something. And the reason this brings up tears for me is because every person in this room, every heartbeat in this room knows what that feels like. So when I was reflecting on who taught me to be a leader, it was my grandmother's and my mother, obviously. Your mother is your very first leader, whether you're a female or a male or somewhere in between. Your leader is your mother, first and foremost. And my mother had a very traumatic life, and you know, I didn't feel like she felt like she was a victim. When I was struggling through with whatever I was going through, my mother was somebody who gave me comfort, even though there was strain with our relationship. She's somebody I still feel comfort when I think of her. She is raising 5 children. 4 girls and an autistic boy. I have an 11-year-old sister, that's why I say she's still raising children. But she really very much wanted us to be able to know what independence was. And it's taken a lot for me to reflect on how did she teach me that, because I grew up seeing other people saying, my mom said this to me, she said that to me, and that stuck with me. And I don't actually have that experience. My mom didn't give me quote unquote words of wisdom, but I got to witness her healing from intergenerational trauma, from colonization and residential school, and her own trauma. And her being able, knowing what I know she's gone through, being able to be a kind person, being able to not be abusive to me when she had really every reason to be a very hard-hearted person, and she was not. And the same could be said about my grandmothers. I am the product of 2 grandmothers who had 26 children combined. When I was starting to write this speech, it was 3 a.m. yesterday. My daughter woke up. I went to sleep at a reasonable hour, but my daughter woke up at about 11, and then my son woke up at about midnight. My son unfortunately had food poisoning, so I was dealing with that. I was sitting on the toilet with these cards, writing things down while he was in the tub. And, that's what being a woman is. I'm sure I'm not the only woman in this room who has had to do something at midnight, in the middle of the night, planning for the next day, with taking care of a little one. Actually yesterday, here's my moment of actually acknowledging I've accomplished something. I was taking care of my son. I was figuring out how am I going to make sure he's taken care of today, because I can't bring him to daycare, and I have to find somebody to watch him. I also have to make it to UVic at 3 o'clock to prepare to do a presentation, Picha Kucha presentation, which is where you say something within 5 minutes, and it was not even really my research. I kind of just pulled that out of my rear end too. And I also had to figure out, well, how am I going to look really cute when I do this? Dare I say gorgeous. So yesterday I was wearing 4-inch heels and a sort of tight dress. Today I'm wearing all-star Chuck Taylors and a lot of stretchy clothes. So it's, I when I was writing this, I was like, how could I convey that I felt like I could totally pull this off by being cute or gorgeous and witty and charming and engaging and warm? Because my grandma and my mom showed me I could. So I wanted to make sure that there are millions of women leaders that we do not acknowledge. Even with, it's really amazing to be able to say we have a city where a female is our mayor, to have CEOs, EOOs, MDs, PhDs, who are all women. Those are definitely leaders, and it's totally inspiring to be able to have that when I just finished a film project where all the women were like, we were either teachers or nurses, and in my reality, most of the people, like my grandmother's generation, they were maids. But like I said, our mother is our first leader. Who's the next leader? It's our preschool teachers. I've always had female teachers pretty much. Elementary school teachers. There was only 2 male teachers. Those are leaders. They are the leaders that you have to reach to make change. If you want women to be more loved, respected, treated equally, those are the people who make the difference. There's been millions of women who have made change already. My grandmother, who on my Saanich side, I just learned this year that she was one of a group of women within the Saanich community who helped establish the Clearwater Tribal School. They also brought in services like having garbage service on the reserves. All these things that our community would have gone without if women didn't make sure that that was provided. My grandmother on my father's side, from my Holtmish side, she took care of 10 children after losing her husband and her firstborn daughter, basically within the same year. She raised 10 children on her own, 7 boys. And she got to live with my great-grandmother. And my great-grandmother only spoke Squamish language. So my grandmother was a fluent speaker, and for the last few decades of her life, for my entire life, she was somebody who the community and even universities would spend time with to preserve the language and the culture. She was also sought to, from our community, to pray for the community. If somebody felt like there was something they wanted to be prayed about, they'd go see her and this other group of people they would call the God Squad. To, basically support them. So I've had incredibly strong female leaders. And they're the ones who gave me that confidence that I can do the things that I can do and will continue to do. And I just want to make sure that we acknowledge those people. And if we take the time to acknowledge these people, like teachers, social workers, dance teachers, soccer coaches, bus drivers, those are the leaders. Those are the ones who are taking the time when we as women who have to be elsewhere, we have to rely on somebody else to be there for our children. And if we can together make each other's lives easier, it's just going to make it better for our kids. And if we just actually admit that these are our leaders, then we can make it possible, I feel like, to grow more leaders within all of our communities. And I think I'm going to end there.
Can't believe she's almost 30. She made cards for no reason. And looked cute up here while she was doing it. Thank you so much to all of our guest speakers today. Another round of applause, please, for all of them. I'd like to call up